Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Start, Sit, and Touchdown Prediction. I go game by game. I do every position for every game, and I do it as quickly as I possibly can so that I can get you prepared for your Week 7 matchups. Now, if you watched me last week, you would have known to start Stephon Diggs. You would have known to bet on Stephon Diggs in daily fantasy. You would have also known to stream guys like Seals Jones at tight end if you needed to stream. I actually used my own projections, and it worked out. Now, do we hit every single projection every week? No, we don't, but we do better than we hit more than we miss, and I have a lot of people that follow me. If you want to follow me, I'm at TFS_Sean. You can also send me an email to functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com. You can also just expand the show notes below, and you'll get all of that contact information. Everything I do, I give for free, but let's just start right now with Thursday Night Football. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was surprised to see this. A lot of this stuff is computer aided. I was surprised to see that Kansas City's passing game is rated so lowly. My computers and my system likes what Denver's been doing defensively after a while. I can say that Patrick Mahomes is actually rated as a sit. Would I ever do that? No. Am I going to tell you to do that? Hell no, I'm not going to do that. Start Patrick Mahomes, although I only have him projected as a 15 this week in the DraftKings standard scoring method there. It's not going to be a great week, so if you're going to be playing like a daily fantasy Thursday night showdown, I actually have Joe Flacco projected similarly. Again, this is computer stuff. This is not me ranking the quarterbacks this week, and the computer is pretty darn accurate and has been, and it gets better and better throughout the season. So Patrick Mahomes is not somebody I would buy in daily fantasy, but of course it's Patrick Mahomes. You got to start him, right? This week my projections and they suggest starting both running backs, Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy. Now let me just talk briefly since we're just getting rolling here. What I assume is about 15 quarterbacks are start. So I divide the quarterbacks in half. I assume about the top 30 running backs, and I assume about the top 30 receivers. That'll give you your starting two and a flex, give or take, depending on your format, and then another 10 to 15 tight ends throughout the week as well. So those are the basic start-sit principles, so that's why I'm going to be running through. Now, back to the running backs here for Kansas City. Damian Williams is a start, but my computer likes LaShawn McCoy to get in the end zone this week. So a touchdown prediction this week is LaShawn McCoy. I think Mahomes has one touchdown according to the predictions, but let's be safe and say two. It is Patrick Mahomes. I think Tyreek Hill gets all of the touchdowns in the passing game. He's a start. He's a definite start. I love him this week. Sammy Watkins is out, so you're looking at either Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, or McCole Hardman. For my money, it's going to be Demarcus Robinson this week. I have him as a start, not a touchdown. And I also have Travis Kelce as a start, but a weak start. Again, if you're looking at daily fantasy, of course you're going to start him on your roster, your fantasy football roster. But in daily fantasy, probably not worth the spend this week. I do not have him getting in the end zone, but it's only a matter of time, man. It's Travis Kelce. He'll get in the end zone, believe you me. For Denver, I have Flacco as a bench. Do not start him. I have Phillip Lindsay getting in the end zone, scoring a touchdown this week. I have Freeman as a bench. I have Emmanuel Sanders as a bench. I have Cortland Sutton as a start with a score of a 12. That is good catches, good yardage, but not a touchdown. And I don't really like anybody else. So I still think Kansas City wins this game safely, as evidenced by our pick in the Get Paid podcast and my daily fantasy podcast and all that stuff. But a lower scoring game. Thursday Night Football is always a little goofy, though. I usually take it off my board. This week I'm making the exception and betting on Kansas City. So there you go. Also, if you want a list of every single score projection, I reference, I have them at a 12 or I have them at a 20 or something like that. Again, just sign up, send me an email. It's completely free, and I'll give you the full projections every week, including the score breakdowns. And again, it uses DraftKings full PPR methodology. Next game on the list, Arizona at New York. This, I believe, will be an offensive game. I think you can start a lot of players this week. We'll start with Kyler Murray, who I like quite a bit. I think he'll have 2 to 3 touchdowns this week. I think David Johnson, assuming he's fully healthy, will be in the end zone as well. If he's not, then you got to start Chase Edmonds, but I'm off of Chase Edmonds. I think he's a sit if David Johnson plays this week. Larry Fitzgerald, I think, gets in the end zone possibly even twice this week. I like his projection. I don't like anybody else, interestingly. Kirk, I think you can start, but actually the projections are spitting back Keyshawn Johnson. assuming he plays, and possibly a touchdown for him. So Kyler Murray, 2 to 3 touchdowns. I think Fitzgerald gets in, and the most likely guy to get in outside of Larry Fitzgerald, in my opinion, is going to be, David Johnson, I think, gets in on the ground, and I think Keyshawn Johnson actually might get a touchdown. Go figure, right? So, again, daily fantasy sleeper, scoop up somebody off of waivers and play. It likes this matchup. Now, for the Giants, Daniel Jones is a definite start. I think he gets easily 2 touchdowns. I'm probably at about 2.25 touchdowns for Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley, he's a start. He's been a full practice participant this week. You got to start him. I have his projection a little bit down, but I think the numbers are also hurt from recent running back performances for the Giants. I feed a lot of stuff into there. I think Saquon Barkley safely gets into the end zone this week. Sterling Shepard, if he is in, I know he's been questionable all week. He is a start, and I believe he gets in the end zone. Golden Tate, I actually have as a bench, but if Sterling Shepard doesn't play, I think you should start Golden Tate. And I actually have one of the highest projections of all players of the week. Evan Ingram is at a ridiculous 32 points, which means multiple touchdowns definitely, and a big receptions and yardage day. I checked the projections. I checked the math. It's all correct. I was shocked to see him that high, but it loves this New York Giants matchup with tight end versus Arizona's defense. So start Ingram, and he's pretty high in DraftKings budget. It's at 6,500. He's actually, in my opinion, probably worth that 6,500 this week. I'll be rotating him through the lineups. I usually don't buy the high guys, especially at tight end, but hey, man, I'm going to do it this time. Moving on, we have Houston at Indianapolis. Very interesting game. We had a nice segment on it, the game preview on Get Paid this week. Check out some of our other videos. You can check out our Week 7 playlist as well on YouTube. But let me just start with Deshaun Watson. I think he's definite 3 touchdown this week. I like Carlos Hyde this week as a start. I do not think he'll get in the end zone, but he'll get you enough yardage to be worth starting. I do not have Duke Johnson as the start. I think DeAndre Hopkins gets in the end zone. Will Fuller will get a nice catch. He'll maybe get a deep ball. I don't have him in the end zone. Here's an interesting one. Darren Fells is spitting back as a really nice waiver grab and play and a touchdown candidate this week. I think Watson hits Fells for a touchdown. Remember, I got Ricky Seals-Jones right last week. These projections are really good at identifying tight ends, and it likes Fells this week. So if you're desperate for a tight end, hey, I was desperate for a tight end last week with Darren Waller on bye week, and I picked up Seals-Jones, and it worked out. I'm not as desperate this week, but if I was going to pick up one guy from these projections off of waivers, it'd be Fells. Now for Indianapolis, I have Brissett as a start. I think he's probably about 2 touchdowns. Then I have Marlon Mack as a definite start. I think he gets in the end zone. T.Y. Hilton is a start. He gets in the end zone, and I think everybody else for the Colts, including Ebron and Doyle, Paris Campbell if he plays, though he's doubtful, all of the other receivers, Naheem Hines as well at running back, I have them as sits. Moving on, we have Jacksonville at Cincinnati. I think Gardner Minshew bounces back from a tough game against the Saints. I think he gets in the end zone once or twice. I believe that Leonard Fournette is a start, but I don't have him getting in the end zone. I have 2 touchdown passes, one going to DJ Chark and one going to Chris Conley, if you can believe it. Chris Conley over D.D. Westbrook. No, I'm sorry. I'm taking that back. I'm looking at the wrong line here. DJ Chark gets the touchdown, and Leonard Fournette, I apologize. I was looking at the wrong line there. Leonard Fournette gets in the end zone this week, possibly twice. DJ Chark gets in the end zone. And if you're looking for a waiver play, D.D. Westbrook I have on the fringe of starting. I don't have him getting in the end zone, but I think he'll give you nice catches and nice yardage. For Cincinnati, I do not have Dalton as a start. I do not have Mixon as a start. I do not have Gio Bernard as a start. If A.J. Green plays, I have him as a start. Regardless, I have Tyler Boyd as a start. If A.J. Green does not play, I have Auden Tate as a start. Now, if A.J. Green does play, I do not have Auden Tate as a start. So it depends on what's going on in the depth chart there. And then I do not like the tight ends for Cincinnati this week, either Uzomah or Eifert. Okay, moving on to the Rams, I have Goff bouncing back, having a nice week. Now, we'll see. They made the big Jalen Ramsey trade. I don't care about that. I care about their offensive line. I care about whether or not Todd Gurley plays. We'll see what happens there. Check NFL.com/inactives before the game. But either way, I think this Rams passing attack does really well against this Atlanta Falcons defense. Jared Goff, I think, gets in, throws for 2 touchdowns at least. I believe Brandon Cooks gets one of those touchdowns. I believe Robert Woods gets one of those touchdowns. And I think Cooper Kupp is a start, but does not get a touchdown. Now, that's a rare thing for me. Usually, Cooper Kupp is my favorite receiver. And analytically speaking, Cooper Kupp is my favorite receiver. And I'm usually more down on Brandon Cooks. This this week, I think Cooks has a nice game against Atlanta. And then I think Gerald Everett does not get in the end zone, but he's a decent start this week if you need somebody. I think he'll get you catches and yards. Now for Atlanta, I think Matt Ryan is a definite start, 2 to 3 touchdowns. I think that Devonta Freeman, who I've been down on, I think he gets in the end zone this week, either through the ground or the air. My money would be on the ground this week. And I think Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley both get in the end zone, as well as Austin Hooper. I'm not high on Mohamed Sanu this week. Moving on, we have Miami versus Buffalo. I do not have a single starter from Miami. I'm sorry, Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Drake and Parker and Preston Wilson and all these guys. I'm sorry. Buffalo's defense coming off a bye week. I don't like the matchup at all for Miami. For Buffalo, I like Josh Allen. I think he's going to score 24. I think he'll get you 1 touchdown on the ground at least, maybe 2, and then at least 1 through the air. So I'm assuming 3 touchdowns for Josh Allen. It just depends on whether or not it's 1 or 2 through the air, 1 or 2 on the ground. I like Frank Gore this week. I also like Devin Singletary if he plays. I'm assuming he will. I like Gore a little bit more. And remember, Singletary's coming back off that hamstring. He could be on a pitch count. They already weren't playing him a ton of snaps anyway. I think Gore is your guy. I don't think he gets in, but I think Buffalo establishes the run early. I have him at a 14. I think he's going to get a lot of yardage, well over 100, so he's worth the play. And I like John Brown this week at an 18. I think he gets in the end zone once, possibly twice. Now, if Josh Allen throws for 2 touchdowns, I don't think John Brown gets in twice. So the next likeliest guy to get in, according to these projections, a fringe start, definitely a waiver candidate this week, is Cole Beasley. I wouldn't classify him as a start, but if you think Buffalo is going to go off and tee off on this Miami defense, and you think that Josh Allen will throw for multiple touchdowns, not score multiple touchdowns, but specifically throw for multiple touchdowns, my next likeliest candidate is Cole Beasley to get in the end zone there. Okay, moving on. We have Minnesota at Detroit, an NFC North matchup. 2 teams kind of on different paths. Green Bay beat Detroit. Detroit had a tough loss on Monday Night Football. Kirk Cousins, is he going to return to glory here? I don't think so. To me, he's just below start level. I think he can do better. Even on waiver wire, you could probably do better this week. Not to say I don't have him at a respectable number. I have him at a 17, but that's just not as good. I think the passing attack throughout the NFL does quite well this week. So even though a 17 would be a start some weeks, it's not for me this week. I think there's better value out there. Dalvin Cook, however, I think is a definite start. I think he gets in the end zone probably twice on the ground, maybe once through the air, but probably twice on the ground. I like Adam Thielen to get in the end zone once, maybe twice. I do not like Stephon Diggs to get in the end zone, but I do like him as a start. He's a fringe starter for me. I have him projected as a 12. That'll be catches and yards, but I do not have him as start. And then, Rudolph, Irv Smith, any of the other guys from Minnesota, I do not have as a start. And also Alexander Mattison, I do not have as a start either. Now for Detroit, I have Stafford as pretty much my lowest graded start. I have him at an 18.5. I had Cousins at 17. So that just shows you how razor thin those margins are for the start-sit line at the bottom of the quarterbacks. I think Stafford gets 1 to 2 touchdowns, and I think those go to Galladay, and I think Hawkinson gets in the end zone as well. So I'm going to say 2 touchdowns for Stafford, 1 for Galladay, 1 for Hawkinson. At running back, I do not like this matchup at all for Kerryon Johnson. Now let me say this. I have Kerryon Johnson in my league as a running back. I'm going to be playing him this week, but I'm saying statistically speaking, analytically speaking, this Detroit offense versus this Minnesota defense, this run defense, it's a tough matchup. I don't like it. I'm not going to be rotating Kerryon Johnson into my daily fantasy lineups. I suggest you do not either, but there you go. Moving on, we have Oakland versus Green Bay. I think one of the more underrated games. I think this is going to be a very exciting game to watch, actually. Oakland coming off a bye week. Derek Carr I have as a sit. I have Josh Jacobs as a start and will probably get into the end zone. I have Terrell Williams as a start and might get into the end zone, assuming Terrell Williams plays. I know they have Zay Jones. I know J.J. Nelson is coming back. I don't have either one of those guys as starting. I do have Darren Waller as a start and a touchdown candidate. So I'm kind of on the fence. The analytics are telling me that the Raiders will probably get 2 touchdowns to 3 touchdowns in this game, and they're going to be spread out. And the likeliest candidates in order are Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, and then Terrell Williams. So if you think Oakland, if you're bullish on them as I am, I think they probably get 2 touchdown passes and 1 on the ground. Now for Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is a start, but not a great start. I have him at a 19. That's really a fringe guy for this week's quarterback rankings. I have Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams as both starts. Aaron Jones is the more likely candidate to get in the end zone for me. If Devontae Adams plays, I have him getting in the end zone probably twice. If he doesn't play, I think those touchdowns, I think Rodgers will still get the touchdowns, but those will be spread out. I know Geronimo Allison is hurt. I don't particularly love Jimmy Graham, so you're looking at basically like somebody like a Kumaro. I can't remember the gentleman's name who got the big pass that everybody was talking and hyping about, the guy that Aaron Rodgers suggested be put in the game. He might be a candidate, and then definitely Valdez-Scantling. So what I would say is the takeaway from this is a waiver wire scoop and start. If Devontae Adams is out, pick up one of those kind of fringe Green Bay receivers, and then definitely start Valdez-Scantling if you have him, if Devontae Adams is out. Next game is San Francisco at Washington. I think Garoppolo, I have him as a fringe starter, but I think he's going to exceed those expectations with playing with the Washington defense. I think that San Francisco will pass a little bit more, but I also think they're going to control both lines of scrimmage. That's what my analytics are telling me too. I think Tevin Coleman gets in the end zone. Tevin Coleman's a start. Matt Breida's a start. You might want to look at Marquise Goodwin. I think he's probably the my favorite waiver wire receiver of the week. He's only owned in like 5% of the leagues. If you're desperate for a wide receiver, this secondary, that second receiver for San Francisco is going to feast on, the second and third cornerbacks for Washington. It's been happening to Washington all year. I do think Kittle is a start, and I do think he gets in the end zone for sure. For Washington, I'm looking. Do I see anything worth starting? I think you could make the case for McLaurin, but honestly, with the strength of the passing attack this week, I think you could do better. Now, if I had McLaurin on my team, he would be a starter on my team because I'm stronger at running back. I'm weaker at wide receiver in my particular team. If you're strong at receiver, I think there are better options. Again, email me for the full projections, and I'm happy to give those to you. I don't like anybody else for Washington. I think we have about 5 games left. Next game on the list is the Chargers at the Titans. I have Phillip Rivers as a sit. I have Melvin Gordon as a start. I have Eckler as a fringe start. I don't feel great about it. I have Keenan Allen as a start, and I do not think he gets in the end zone. I think that Melvin Gordon does get in the end zone, and I think that Hunter Henry is a fringe start at tight end and a touchdown candidate there. So I think it's going to be tougher sledding for the Chargers this week. If they do get 2 touchdowns, I think one goes to Gordon and one is either going to go to Keenan Allen or Austin Eckler. I think they're likelier to get the touchdown than Hunter Henry is this week. Now, Tennessee, I guess Tannehill is the starting quarterback. I think Tannehill is the superior quarterback, but coming in halfway through the season, I don't know how sharp he's going to be. I'm going to stay away from him and sit him. I do think Derrick Henry will benefit from the quarterback change. He's a start and will get in the end zone. And I do think Corey Davis and A.J. Brown will, and Delaney Walker, and basically the entire receiving core, even Dion Lewis at running back, I think they'll benefit from having a guy like Tannehill throw the ball. However, I do not have them starting this week. I'm not going to risk it. My analytics don't like it. And if my analytics don't like it and I don't like it, I'm not going to tell you to like it. Next game on the list, Baltimore versus Seattle. Another one of my absolute favorite games this week. 2 really good teams playing each other. A lot to like offensively this week. Lamar Jackson is a definite start. I think he goes for 3 touchdowns total. Not sure if, how many on the ground, how many through the air. Mark Ingram is a definite start as well. I have him in the end zone once or twice as well. Funny thing here, it likes both tight ends. It likes Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst this week. So Andrews gets in the end zone. Hayden Hurst potentially gets in the end zone. I like Marquise Brown. He's kind of a fringe starter at wide receiver for me. I think you could do better for him, but I know he's been banged up too. I don't know if he's playing, so check the inactives report as we approach game time. For Seattle, I have Russell Wilson getting in the end zone 3 times as well. I have Chris Carson getting in the end zone once. I have Tyler Lockett getting one of those touchdown receptions. I have DK Metcalf getting possibly a touchdown reception as well. And the question here is Luke Wilson. Can he fill in for Will Dissly? Russell Wilson loves Will Dissly on the goal line. Luke Wilson filling in. Can he be that guy? I don't know. If you're desperate for a tight end and Darren Fells isn't there, Luke Wilson is my next favorite kind of waiver wire tight end scoop and play. We'll see. Oh, TJ Hawkinson is available for a lot of people too. I think he's a safer one in my opinion. Okay, 3 games left. New Orleans at Chicago. I think this is going to be a defensive game. We've seen, and my analytics have picked up on, the teams that are playing Chicago, they try to attack Chicago with running backs, meaning Oakland attacked them just running straight ahead with Josh Jacobs, and they were very, very good in doing so. But honestly, I think Chicago was had a little bit of jet lag in that London game, so I'm not holding that against the Chicago defense. What I have noticed, though, what was telling to me is when Fangio and Denver played Chicago, they attacked Chicago with a lot of screen passes, and I think New Orleans will be able to screen out Kamara this week. I think Kamara gets in the end zone. Bridgewater is a sit. Mike Thomas is a definite start. I think he gets in the end zone this week. But I'm thinking maybe this is a 2 or 3 touchdown max game for New Orleans. For Chicago, I have whichever quarterback is playing this week, I have them as a bench. I don't like either one of these running backs. I do like Tarek Cohen, but it just seems like Coach Nagy there is moving away from using Tarek Cohen in the running game, and I think he's better as kind of like a running back, wide receiver / almost like a Brian Westbrook used to be, what we saw Kareem Hunt be for Kansas City in recent years. They do need to run him. I mean, when he's on the field, the defenses at this point, they don't have to respect the run at all. They do need to switch it up. Once they start doing that, I think things will start opening up for the Chicago offense. I do think Allen Robinson is a touchdown candidate this week. However, he has a very tough matchup in Marcus Lattimore. This is another guy, if you're looking for a waiver scoop up, another guy I kind of like as a fringe starter is Taylor Gabriel if he plays, but I don't really like much else for Chicago. I think Chicago's offense is going to have tough sledding. I think New Orleans' offense is going to have tough sledding. I think it's going to be a close game, a field goal game, but I like New Orleans just a little bit more because I like their offense more. 2 games left. We have Sunday Night Football now, NFC East showdown. Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. I have Carson Wentz, believe it or not, as a sit. I don't love that. Frankly, if he was my quarterback this week, I might flirt with putting him in there. I do not like Jordan Howard this week. I have Miles Sanders as the more likable running back for the second week in a row now. I think Miles Sanders could get in the end zone. I do think that Alshon Jeffrey gets in the end zone. I do think that Zach Ertz gets in the end zone. Those are both starts for me. The question I have is Deshaun Jackson, who is questionable. He adds another dimension on this. He's kind of an analytics breaker for me based on kind of what's been going on in this Philadelphia offense. This is more gut than analytic, but I like Deshaun Jackson if he plays against Dallas. Primetime football. The field's going to be in good condition there with their dome / mega center for Dallas, the hypermarket. I like Deshaun Jackson. I would take a flyer on him if you need a receiver and he's available in waivers, but he probably won't be. For Dallas, I have Dak Prescott as a definite start. He's actually my top quarterback of the week, believe it or not. Philadelphia, similar to Washington, which I just talked about before, their primary defensive back for Philadelphia is pretty good. The second and third cornerbacks, when they roll coverages, they get into, I don't know what the deal is, but teams time after time are exploiting this Achilles heel for Philadelphia's defense. What does that mean? That means if Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup both play, Michael Gallup is in for a big day. I think he's number 1 or number 2 on my wide receiver projections. Daily fantasy, I'm going to be all over him. If he's in your lineup and he's a fringe flex and you're trying to decide, start Michael Gallup. Start Amari Cooper as well. I think both get in the end zone. I think Dak Prescott has 3 touchdowns, 1 to Cooper, 2 to Gallup. But here's the thing. If Amari Cooper doesn't play, then all of a sudden the coverage gets rolled over. Michael Gallup is drawing the main coverage. And then guys like Randall Cobb or Tavon Austin, or take your pick, who else, then they start to get that secondary coverage. Then maybe a guy like Jason Witten is more of a play who's a fringe start. Ezekiel Elliott is a start for me. I don't think he gets in the end zone, though. Pollard is not a start. And, it's really about that Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup dynamic. If Amari Cooper's out, I tend to like, Randall Cobb a little bit more if he plays, or Tavon Austin. If Cooper's in, I only like Cooper and Michael Gallup, as well as Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, of course. Okay, last game of the week, AFC East matchup. Monday Night Football, you have the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. Sam Darnold is back, so it's going to be different from the first time New England has played them. I have Tom Brady as a start, but a fringe start, believe it or not. I like Sony Michel and James White this week, but I don't think really either one of them get in the end zone. I do think Julian Edelman gets in the end zone. Here's an interesting one. If Philip Dorsett plays, I think Philip Dorsett gets in 1 to 2 times. If he doesn't play, another waiver wire gem of the week, Jacoby Myers. If Philip Dorsett is inactive, if he doesn't play, as of this time, I believe he's still questionable. If he's out for this game, Jacoby Myers, scoop and start. I think you will be very, very happy if you do. I don't like any of the other Patriots. So I think the running attack, they're going to control the clock against the Jets. Now for the Jets, these calibrations are off. I think Darnold probably ends up around the 15 to 16 mark. I don't have him as a start because I think New England's defense is good. I don't have Le'Veon Bell as a start, but if he's on your roster, you're going to start him, and I wouldn't argue with that. If he was on my roster, I would start him. Analytically speaking, my computer analytics do not like him. He's actually ranked below Sony Michel and James White in this game, if you can believe that. Wide receivers, I have Jamison Crowder as the definite wide receiver to own. Probably gets in the end zone this week against New England. But Robbie Anderson, I think, has a tough game this week. Herndon, I want to see him play before I start thinking about starting him, and my analytics don't like him either. So there's a full week, sit starts, touchdown predictions. If you want the full score predictions, please email me. I'm at functionalsportsaholic at gmail.com. You can expand the show notes and find my email address. You can also give me a follow on Twitter and just message me there. I'm at TFS_Sean. As always, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/TheUnderdog. And we will catch you next week. Thanks, everyone.